SBA EIDL Loan alternative up to $2 million, $5 million in business funding that you can apply to build, grow, expand, and even get out of a tight pinch, plus the 8 denial issues for capital that you must avoid or fix if you're currently going through these. I'm also going to be going into the PPP, Employee Retention Tax Credit, grants, and a few expert tips at the end of this video so you can walk away with 110% confidence and certainty that you won't only get approved, but it'll be a longer-term strategic partnership and roadmap. Before I get started, my name is Michael with Viral Funding Solutions. And if you're in here right now, please give me a hashtag live or give me a hashtag replay if you'll be watching later on during that interval. An amazing weekend, as always. Hopefully you guys did as well. You guys started your Monday on the right foot or on the left one. And, you know, if you had a little bit you needed to get going, probably put a little bit of coffee or tea in your morning. That put a pep in your step and it got you moving in the right direction. So I'm not going to waste any further introduction, but if you've been hearing me speaking about the latest EIDL alternatives or the latest EIDL appeal or what other programs that I recommend out there, then you would know that I've spoken on them very well in depth. I've got into them very specifically, showing you the underwriting process, which I'm going to be doing more of moving forward, especially with the SBA 7A program that's very popular right now. I've been speaking about grants of all types, the PPP, Employee Retention Tax Credit, and all of this information, by the way, you can find down below in the description. So after this video is over, you can access even all the information as well as a funding questionnaire where you can submit it and get a very personalized and customized email response on your best funding option and options thoroughly broken down by a professional expert business loan broker. Let's see who we have in the comments. Scott, welcome in. How are you doing? So what I want to get into right away, besides the fact that the screen looks a little bit dark because of my HP lighting for some reason doesn't bring it all the way up. But I do have the window in here where the sun is shining through. You just can't obviously see it. There isn't much steam picking up with the SBA EIDL. There is not an exhaustion of funding. It's just exhausted in terms of, is it going to reopen? And there is no validity. There is nothing screaming that it'll open up in the next month or two before the year ends or even in the next year. We just went through the SBA EIDL Appeal. A lot of that has closed down. We're unsure about what will happen thereafter. And there's just a lot of this talk and forth. Perhaps you've seen the content from other people on YouTube just kind of ranting on about something. I'm not going to do that here. Can I go on and talk about the senators and Administrator Guzman? And yes, I can, but I'm not going to. Why? Because that's not as important as what this next part is. And I'm going to jump into the share screen in a moment. But I spoke about the SBA EIDL Appeal recently. I've been speaking about it for some time now and what you had to do. And I'll leave information down below, but just know again that that may not be open anymore. But just so you have an idea of what you could do, perhaps if it were to reopen completely again, and what you can say in a template and how you can reach out to your senator and ask for that type of help. But for now, we're kind of just left wondering and sometimes wandering. Happy to hear it, Scott. And so I'm not going to waste any more time. Let me jump into the share screen and show you these 8 denial reasons for capital and what you must do to avoid and fix them. As you can see on your screen here, 8 issues denying you capital and how to fix them. 8 critical issues denying you. And here, this looks a little bit familiar. And if you saw this inside of one of my email broadcasts, this is what it'll be. And there will be a little bit of an extension on what I go off of. So just bear with me if you saw this in your email. Perhaps you got one and you said, oh, it's that guy again. I'm not going to respond or I'm not going to open it. So right here, I go, are you aware of the 8 main issues holding you back from getting an alternative small business loan faster and easily without struggling and getting denied at time after time? And this can be applicable to you going to a traditional brick and mortar banking institution. I'll cut right to it and list them here for you. Number 1, that is poor credit history. Lenders will take a look at your consumer and even business credit if business credit is a requirement for that service. So I'm going to expand on that in a little bit. And if you show a lack of paying past debts, recent foreclosures, bankruptcy, open tax liens, legal issues, and much more, you very well could be rejected for a loan/cash advance. Note, this is a big part right here. You guys need to listen in very carefully. If you're looking for an SBA loan and you don't have business credit established and built, that could be the one determining factor for causing you to get declined. Now, I'm going to move this over. A lot of individuals that I'm helping out getting SBA 7A, 504, any other type of SBA loan, specifically the SBA 7A, they come to me without any business credit established. They haven't even reported to Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, Equifax. They don't have anything set up, no trade lines, no accounts registering and being shown, no paydex score, no FICO SPSS score to establish creditworthiness with your personal and business credit score together. So if you're one of those individuals who has submitted that questionnaire, which I'm going to leave you to down below in the description, this is the fastest way to get in touch with me, and you fill out your details, and in the part where I see you said no to business credit, but you might have 700, 800,000 in monthly revenue, you're doing 3 million, and you're doing this amount in annual gross revenue, but you're looking for an SBA loan, you don't have business credit established, that's hard to say, hey, yes, we could approve you when you don't even have a paydex score that's even efficient. It's deficient, right? Like not getting in enough photosynthesis, not getting in enough sunlight. So you have to nourish your business, and part of that is business credit. And this is a big reason that business owners get denied not only through the SBA, but all other forms of financing. Not specifically a cash advance, because we can look at those as just personal credit. It doesn't have to report to the business credit bureaus, and you don't have to have business credit established for the most part. However, revenue-based funding is starting to grow. If we're just looking at your revenue and we're giving you funding that's uncollateralized, of course there's going to be a medium to higher rate. I just had a business owner who said they didn't want their offer of about 100 to 120,000, and there's another one at about 150,000. And the reason that they had, well, I didn't want those rates. They were getting like a 40%, 40 to 50%. Well, some of you have already a current position. We're coming into the second position or a third or maybe possibly a fourth. How do you expect us to lower the rates? Because you've been proving that you've been making this payment. You're proven that you've been able to take funding, so you should get a lot better because you have multiple positions open. That's not how it exactly works. Now, if you had paid over 50%, paid over 80, 90, you only have a few 5,000 remaining for the week or so, how much it is, then perhaps we may lessen the rate a little bit more. And we work backwards. But when individuals come here expecting, hey, well, I already have a current position and I'm going to go apply at this lender, and they come in the second, third, fourth position with me, and they're all like, well, I didn't like the rate. Why did you apply to begin? Whenever I educate you, I never tell you just to go and apply. You got to read. You got to view these videos. You have to open up those emails. Hear me over here or on a direct messenger text. But recently, I've had a lot of business owners who have some amazing offers, 100, 200, 300. Some of them go, well, I don't want that rate. And I get it. It's unsecured financing. Perhaps you started with a rate that was about the same or maybe a little bit less. But because you came into another position, you haven't even paid enough of the balance. Secondly, it's not even being close. It's too high of a payment. Why would a second position lender want to come in and say, hey, I'm going to give you way more than what you got the first time, or I'm going to give you a lot less of a rate. I'm going to increase the terms. That doesn't work. It works the opposite way. So if we maybe received 15 months here, maybe we'll give you 12 months. You got 40% interest, maybe we'll give you 45%. You got 40% interest, well, maybe we can look at it again and get it a little bit lower, maybe not. Usually it's the opposite. So when you're fighting this tug of war, it's not going to work until you have proper education of how all of this is supposed to be put together. So back to the topic of getting an SBA loan, it doesn't matter if you're doing 800,000 a month, you're doing 900, but my business hasn't been in business for 20 years. You don't understand me. And you guys try to explain to me how you had to use these for business operational expenses, and then you had a net operating income of this, and then your total net income or profit loss. What was your profit gain year over year? When I do the calculations and I see the percentage in the margins, and I look at your tax returns, I look to your year-to-date financials, your balance sheet, and all this information that's telling me otherwise, why did you tell me you had 2 years of profitability when you had 1 year and then the other one you were off? This year you may be going up or you're going down, but we could have avoided all this expectation of you. Hey, you're going to get an SBA 7A. Well, I just have the information there. Did you not see where it said 2 years of profitability? It doesn't even show that. And we want to see what's current. We don't want to see 1 year profitable. We move back to 2019, it is profitable. 2020, it was, and 2021 is. It's like, well, 2021 and then 2020, that's a bit difficult to go off of. You're not increasing, you're going backwards. And so when we see too much incompatibility with your profitability, it's like, well, 2019, 2020, and then 2021 isn't going to be. So it's like 2 years recently is much more helpful than saying, hey, 2019, we jump a year, 2021, 2022 current, this is what it looks like. Yes, you have 2 years of profitability, but it's showing a recent pattern, and we can take an even deeper look at that, but just know the expectations coming into this. And whenever I do all these calculations and I see them on your tax returns, it's pretty obvious you were operating at a profit loss. It's just that simple. Do you have 2 years, usually 2 years of recent profitability? If so, then we can evaluate you for this option. And if not, these are the alternatives. Perhaps we look at an unsecured financing option. Or if you had collateral and you're rate sensitive, then we drop the rates by offering up collateral. If you're not, then we go with an unsecured financing option, whether you had collateral or not, whether you wanted to give it up. But there's this tug of war that you guys have too much of, is like, oh, am I giving up too much? No, you're just not understanding how these funds are going to be effectively used, one, and then to grow and expand your business. You're not using them for that. Perhaps you are, but the growth opportunity and the expansion, the scale isn't there. It's only at 5%, 10%. It's not going to bring you in as much. It's not even going to double your profitability. It's not even going to keep you month to month growing. It's going to actually set you backwards because of cash flow problems that you already have or will have. So it's not a question of it's expensive, because we know that if it's unsecured financing, what is the question of is, does the benefit exceed your repayment? The benefit has to exceed the repayment. Then we wouldn't have to be talking about this. Well, you're not going to double, triple, quadruple. Then you're just going to stay afloat, and you can take that money and use it how you need to with keeping your cash flow up. You need to service it for debt. You have a few growth expansion projects that will come on 3 months from now out of the 8-month term you have, or however much you have. Great. But if you're doing this whole tug of war with me and we're going back and forth, email to email, it's not serving us any good in terms of energy and time. And so I'll usually put it together in the very beginning, and I'll let you aware of what's going to happen. But if you're doing this with me, hey, how could your time and energy be used more effectively? That's the question that we have to answer. So now let me go back into this document. As I said here, if you're looking for an SBA loan and you don't have business credit established and built, that could be the one determining factor causing you to get declined. And even if you did, but you don't have multiple accounts, only any kind of trade lines, you're not showing that you're actually building it. You don't have maybe a decent enough of a paydex score, maybe 60 and above, 70, more towards 80 is what we would like to see, then it shows a lot. So just understand that part. Profitability with the SBA 7A is a primary one, at least 2 years of it. The most recent, the better. It actually gauges us not on a longer term history, but more on a recent one, and what you could be doing to improve it. There are a lot of things you can cut back on if you can. A lot of business owners come to me and they say, well, if I wanted to just sit still and collect a lot of the money, then I could, but I want to actually expand it. But there's a way to go about it. How much do you spend on raw materials, distribution? How much are your cost of goods sold versus all your expenses and everything put together? Because that's separate than your expenses. And so you have to fully look at, okay, and I can give you that in time. I may come up with a live video on how you can improve your profitability if that's something you guys like to know more about. Now, back to this document, how to fix it. And I had it in a different color in different areas, but we'll leave it like that. Check your personal and business credit reports to see if you spot any issues, then determine how long it could take for you to fix it. And if need be, do you need to get into credit repair? If that's what you have already come to a conclusion, you can't fix it yourself. It's not do it yourself, or you're just not wanting to do that because you don't know how much time. And I'll be honest with you, it's better not. If you can spend a little bit of money just to get your credit repaired and have that long-term relationship, that's the best thing to do. And even if you're not using it, and even if you're not a member, it's still going to benefit you if something does come up again and you need to get it disputed. You got to look deeper into your credit reports, and that may be your issue. But here we go. Having a 700 plus credit score, and this we're talking about FICO, we're talking about personal consumer credit, increases your terms and then drops your rates significantly. If you're within the range of 500 to 600, that is not good at all. And these are usually the individuals who I have a lot of tug of war with, but you wouldn't even believe it. A lot of business owners who are even above 700 and 800, they're in their excellent scores, still have a lot of this tug of war. And I get it if you don't understand it, but if you've been following me for some time and you haven't been tuning into any of this content, Julio's a testament, right, Julio? You drop in, like when Julio's going to go get financing, he can tell you this. He hasn't yet. However, he understands. I spoke with him over the phone because it was necessary. It's not always. And then I sent some text messages. I followed up with him on an email. He's been very responsive, and that's the type of person that I love to work with. Somebody that doesn't necessarily have funding right now, but they're not going to be kickers, tire kickers, lazy people coming over, having different expectations. And then when I try to adjust their beliefs, they go, no, you know what? No, I don't want to hear it. Well, okay, go away. Nobody has time or energy for that. So back to this document. Check your personal and business credit reports, as I said. And if you're between like a 600 to 700, sure, these ranges you can get financing unsecured by revenue based. But when we're talking about higher documentation, SBA type of financing, equipment financing, and other forms, having a stronger credit profile will definitely help you when it comes down to your down payment, when it comes down to liquidity at closing, if anything, equity, collateral, what cash flow do you specifically have? And so cash flow is a problem. And so what we have to look at is how do we readjust? And what we look at is your credit score. Credit also tells us your character. That's more of a value with credit. It's like, hey, how have you been making your payments on time? Have you? Well, it shows you haven't. And so it's a morality issue. And there's a lot deeper that we go into. So having a 700 plus credit score increases your terms and drops your rates, but it gives you more borrowing power. Also working on your business credit. That's what you ultimately want to do. I sent a lot of you guys that over the weekend. I apologize. I haven't gotten around to texting everybody today, but I will try to do that after this video. That I let you know that I sent you an email questionnaire response. Number 2, limited cash flow. This is huge. How much cash do you have on hand is the number one question I, as a business owner, would be asking. Have you asked yourself that question now as we're entering the next part of this year? Have you asked yourself how much cash do you have on hand? Can you have enough cash to service the expenses? Do you have enough to help you grow and expand already in your business? You're self-funding yourself. You're taking the money and depositing it back effectively into your own business. So if you had an extra 40,000, that 40,000 in the next month becomes an additional 20 on top of that. So you have an extra 60,000, but you may not have enough as you're growing. So you need an additional 120, an additional 80 or so thousand to match that 60,000 you already have at 140K. So yes, a huge part of it can come 50% from what you already have. The other 50% then comes from seeking private lenders, getting expert help from a business loan broker like myself. Now back to this topic. How much cash of it do you have on hand? This is the first thing lenders will look at, including myself, when determining the health of your business. And I looked at a lot of people's SBA, their bank statements, and everything included. And for those of you applying for an SBA, may have heard from me just recently, and you were disapproved because of profitability issues, net operating income, net income. But that's not where the end of the world lies. There are other options you can look at. We can look to see, okay, how recently was that? Was it maybe the 2019 year, but 2020 and 2021 look really good? And then perhaps we can say, okay, that's better. Or sometimes we go 2019 was good, 2020 was off. 2021 was good, but then, we have to hear more reasoning from you. So it's better to, speak to myself, or sometimes I deal with a financial advisor or a team of people, which we can do a lot of things in house, and I'll let you know aware of that. And it's always better in a sense to do it that way. And I'll let you know who you'll be in communication with a lot of the time. And I'm there every step of the way as well. I know what's happening during the underwriting process. I'm always kept up to speed as well. So I have this information on hand. So having insufficient cash flow is a flaw, and lenders will decline you completely or not give you as much funding because you can't afford to pay back as much. So they are looking at determining the health of your business. Priority number one, it is cash flow. And that you can look at any other type of service, even credit lines, that are going to look at your cash flow to see if it's sufficient enough to service the debt that you'll be getting. Now, how to fix it? Calculate your cash flow quarterly and try to keep more in your account than what goes out, and eliminate unnecessary overhead. And how you decide to expand your business is all up to you, but just get to understand that profitability is number one, and credit when it comes to like an SBA loan. And if it isn't there, then how are we going to know you're going to be able to service the debt? More is being pushed to debt than what you're actually putting back into your business. So when you're taking on debt for 5 to 10 years in working capital or more, if you're looking at real estate, of course it has to make sense. It's not a short-term 1 to 2 year, less than 2 years, less than a year, or up to 3 years or so. If it's collateralized, maybe you get a little bit more. So that's another option to look at. Also, increasing your margins, customer value, and increasing your monthly revenue will help. And that's a byproduct of increasing these assets. And these are just a few of the many. If you'd like to figure out how much of a loan payment you can afford, start by dividing your net operational income by your total annual debt to calculate your debt service coverage ratio, or for short, DSCR. I do this a lot, specifically when it comes to SBA type of loans, and when I get tax returns, federal tax returns more than anything, and I'm getting year-to-date profit and loss income statements is another way you can call it. And servicing this requires those tax returns. And when an SBA loan comes into the picture, you want to have a DSCR of at least a 1.25 and above. You can service a debt. In some cases, you can look at a 1.15, depending on the extremity of your credit and a few things. But that number and above is what you want to shoot for. Lack of a solid business plan. You won't be asked for a large and well-documented plan for all these services, also like a cash advance. If you're looking for a term loan as well, perhaps a line of credit, anything lower than 100,000 in a lot of cases, or sometimes it's between 100 and 150,000 where we don't have to look at so much extensive documentation. But if it's anything over that in a lot of cases, then we might need a solid plan for you, how to use your funds. How will you actually project this will increase your revenue month to month? What will it do to your annual gross revenue? How about your bottom line, your net income? These are questions that I'm asking you, as well as our underwriters. If it takes a phone call to understand you're wanting 100K, you're wanting 150K and above, well, this may take one phone call just to understand how you're going to be able to service the debt. Number one question myself and all lenders are asking for is, can you make the repayments? And if so, how much time can we actually afford to give you? What can the actual rates look like? Determining a lot of different things. Lenders will want to see that you have a well thought out plan, or any at all. So don't be that individual who comes into getting business funding and you have no plan at all. That is not good at all. They can just automatically decline you. You may give them a reason. You may just say, I don't know exactly, but I do know this. And then you go into it as specifically as you can. How to fix it. Put together a summary of your company, market, products, and financials. Pretty straightforward. Perhaps you've already done this. If you're not sure if your plan is sound, seek the advice of a business plan expert or myself as a business loan broker who's been able to see a lot of files come through and I know what to look for. I can help you with, who can review it and give you feedback. Be more prepared to be specific about how you'll use your funds. Number 4, this is a huge one, and I know this one will hurt if it is you, but it is all out of tough love. It isn't out about negativity. You're disorganized and you lack funding education. The reality is, look, I'm going to move this over. The reality is you're disorganized and you lack funding education. Maybe not disorganization or either one of them, But for a lot of individuals who I do help, and I see this all the time, you're disorganized. You don't even have the education to understand what you're walking yourself in through. You have another advance or a term loan and you're trying to get out of it, but you don't understand what you're doing, which is okay. That's why you're speaking to me. But at the same time, if I'm showing you something and you completely disregarded it or you forgot about it, yet you still went through, we're wasting each other's energy and time. This information is up to date. I have it available for you for a reason. It's not to be skipped. It's to be looked at. It's to listen. God gave me big ears for a reason. And so whenever I have communication with you, please understand these things. Or you're walking into something that's not going to work out and you have the expectations of this. Nobody ever set them straight for you. I have a lot of people who come to me with more positions that they want, and I'm like, nobody's educated you on this. What's going on? I thought you were supposed to work with somebody over there who's going to strategically help you. They never do, or they do, but it's very little. So I'm going to jump into that topic in a little bit, but just understand that you have to have the right education. This isn't just a quick fix and just going in there and applying and doing whatever you can, because you're going to have the wrong expectations walking into it. And that's 99.99% of the time. And I have the numbers to back that up, where I can show you how many people I've actually spoken to and how many of them actually have the wrong expectations, who actually really needed an education. So it's okay if you're lying to yourself now, but I'm not saying you are. It's just you have to really look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, am I really taking the time to understand what this Michael guy is telling me? And he really does care about helping me. He's not just in here for a short-term gain, which I'm not. I'm not in here for, hey, he's just trying to make a quick buck. No, that's not what I'm in here to do. And nobody is explaining this stuff to you enough. And a lot of you guys go, well, I can find this stuff online. Not all of it. You obviously cannot find all of this. I get a lot of this from my underwriters, the lenders, and there's well more information to this that I haven't even put on this paper, but we can be here for hours talking about it. Most business owners do not, in the caps lock, here you can see, I'll even underline it, have all, again, the paperwork necessary to start and submit your application. Whether you're applying online with an alternative financing lender or through the bank, you should have your bank statements, tax returns, and information readily and easily, keywords, readily and easily, and then accessible. The other parts is having the right expectations, sorry, grammar there, and education that comes with getting funding. How do you fix this? Even before I go here, you guys know this. Save all of your documents to your Google Drive, if they're Dropbox. Put them on your mobile document on your iPhone, and you can transfer them over in a specific folder or anywhere you upload them to, wherever you have them. You maybe have a CRM system or wherever you have it on your computer folder. You can access it at any time you need it, and you can always add or subtract to it. Then download it as a zip file with everything in there, or you can download them separately if you have different folders for them. You can put them all underneath one, or send them to me via email, however you feel is most comfortable for your system, or just quickly transfer and send them via email, as I just mentioned. A lot of people just do that. They send me everything they need to via email, whether it's in a zip file or not. I would greatly appreciate that. But if they're sent to me separately, that's okay. I don't mind. Either way is fine. I end up organizing them myself with the systems that I have built. So it's very seamless. It's very fast. Also, tune into my weekly content. I'm going to actually underline this, guys, because a lot of you guys, I've seen some emails recently that look really bad, and they come to no point. I'm not saying you, but there are individuals who pop up into my emails who they do this. It's like the Muppet Show. And they show up telling me, hey, you're just giving out information without actually showing people how. No, I'm actually showing you. It just shows you haven't even looked through my content. But I opened up but you just opened up an email. Probably you didn't even read it all the way through, or you did, but you didn't do what was asked of you, which was to click that link and perhaps read the blog post, a social media post, watch one of these videos that I upload, one of these updates. Did you do any of that? But yes, I did. Your videos are long. Well, bookmark it. Come back to it. I'll try to get to the point in the very beginning and then tell you what else is going to happen. But if you don't listen and you don't take the time, like I have business owners do all the time, there's a reason why when it comes to sending me all your documentation, and I see you weren't even profitable, but you told me you wanted to send me all this documentation, and I told you via email. Perhaps I told you via phone call. Perhaps I told you via text. Or why weren't you straight with me when you had the second two? Why are you telling me all this now after I collected the documentation? You gave me extra documentation that wasn't even necessary to get and gather based upon you telling me this now. So don't go at this blindly expecting anything different. It's like that a couple people just recently who have applied and they come into this thinking they're going to get better rates and terms where they have other advances or other types of funding already and they're taking another position. How in the world are you able to justify that? The thing that it ultimately comes down to is not the rate. They're going to look at it and say, no, without me even speaking to you, I know it's not that. It's more than an interest rate. It's more about the benefit doesn't exceed your repayment. Cash flow wise, maybe you're not going to have enough in the bank to service any kind of debt that you have already that you're paying. So you can't take an additional amount. So why are you even applying to begin with? You have multiple positions. Why do you think it'll be anything better? If anything, we're going to probably shorten the terms, probably increase the rates. Also, tune into weekly content like my own to stay on top of the latest and greatest education you'll get online for business funding. And I don't say that in a cocky way. I say that in a very confident way that nobody else is sharing information like this with you. Number 5, you have too many applications started. This one's a horrible one that a lot of people end up doing, but they don't realize it. Many business owners will do this whole spray and pray method where they'll apply to a gazillion. Yes, I wrote that word. It's not Godzilla, but kind of like. Places at once thinking it will increase their chances of getting approved or gives them more flexibility to get the lowest price. And I'm going to put this here in a different color because that is a red flag. Or move smoothly, more smoothly, if an offer gets declined so you have another place to go and turn to. That's actually hurting you. The lenders, the underwriters, ourselves, we see everything that's going on. We know where you've applied. We know what offers you have on the table. We know we maybe can't come in anymore because you have already a contract in place that you have already signed or haven't, but we just can't get any more information released to you because of those things. And you're shopping around. You shouldn't be doing that in the sense of you're going to just try and apply anywhere and everywhere without consulting, without speaking to somebody like myself, where you get the best decision and you understand where to turn to and what to hold off of. I'm not saying you shouldn't go and apply and shop around because that's normal. But the difference is when you leave too many things open and there are too many offers and you're just trying to apply just for the heck of it. You don't even need the money now. You're like, I want it in a month. You have your contingencies. I'm like, this isn't even how it works. Or you're just like, well, I don't know. And it ends up hurting you more than it does doing any good to you. Then the lenders then tend to shy back. Maybe an A-tier lender then becomes a B-tier lender. You get $35,000 as opposed to $150,000 like you could have received. You have worse rates or worse. It was already good. It got worse. The terms had to be dropped. Maybe they don't give you anything. And now it's under a lot of suspicious activity, and you just got to understand these things. So you're seen within the system. They can tell where you've applied. We can see all this information. We're all in communication. So applying everywhere and doing the spray and pray method isn't going to do you any good. Like individuals recently who responded back saying, well, I don't want the offer because of the rates. Well, you were misinformed. I explained how this works. Perhaps you didn't see it or decided you would just go through with it and see what you could get. But just applying just did you more harm than any good. Hey, we know you didn't want the offer because you told us. If you didn't tell us, that's even worse, whether you wanted it or not. But don't just apply. We're going to have it on record and say, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll get you more next time, but maybe we'll get you less. You're just playing around. However, this actually is a huge red flag for credit bureaus, and every lender can see your open applications, whether it is closed and what your pattern and behavior are, and could shy away from getting you funding at all, or they could give you a lesser amount than expected, as I mentioned. And expectation is a huge word that a lot of you guys hold on to. And I want you guys to have a realistic one when it comes to getting the right type of financing. Not, hey, well, I should get a 30% interest rate on, or I should get a 10% interest rate for 100,000. No. Nope. Not how this works. If you have better profiles, then maybe we'll consider it. Maybe it looks a lot better. Don't apply everywhere and everywhere. This is how to fix it. Also, only apply when you really have a need for funding and only have one open application at least at a time. Otherwise, the lenders will shy away from you and you risk a chance of getting the best approval from the best lender available. And so be very careful of that. I just spent a good amount of time on it. Number 6, you didn't shop around enough. So I didn't say you shouldn't. I said you should be very careful about shopping around. Most business owners will only look at one option without considering their alternative or alternatives. Now, there's a difference between looking everywhere and applying to the right program. So when you are just applying everywhere and closing your eyes, that's not what you want. You don't want to go from one to the next expecting a different result and it doesn't even end up happening. You didn't even fix the diagnosis. Nobody showed you that you have to pay this position off at this amount for you to be considered for this. You, at the very least, want to know what's out there. And when you consult with somebody like myself as your business loan broker, you'll get the best for sure. How to fix it? Very obvious. I don't even have to say this. Speak to an expert business loan broker like myself so you don't fall victim to the wrong places and lenders. And I'll tell you this, I work with the best lenders and the underwriters that are out there, whether they're directly or indirectly. So whether you're coming to me for equipment financing, real estate financing, personal/startup loans, business credit building, cash advances, unsecured term loans, lines of credits, anything you can think of, I've already gotten funding for. And I know what it is when somebody comes in and they're looking for it in all types of industries. Number 7, huge. Patience. I get you need cash for some time soon, but you have to take your time from getting into the right service to applying to the start of the underwriting, the middle of it, and the end of it. And you can't rush everything. So the expectation needs to be set. If we're going to need to communicate with you, this is how the process works. And I'm going to tell you, this is what's going to happen next. This is what you should expect. This is how we're going to handle this. Oh, well, I don't want to do any of that. Well, bye-bye. And then second, it's really that straightforward. It's not being mean. It's just being honest. And I'm very nice about things. It's just don't be that individual who's very hard to work with. Don't be somebody who comes in and then disappears out of the year and comes back 2 months later with a response and says they're going to do something, but then they never end up doing it. And then I'm trying to receive feedback from them, they disappear. That's something that's wasted. That could be used better for somebody else who's actually serious about getting funded and much more. So patience. I get you need it sometime soon, but take your time, relax. Every part of the process is going to be different. There may be something different that's needed when the offer comes up. This is how I'm going to need to present it to you myself or some other party included. How to fix it? I know this is kind of cheesy, but practice meditation. Slow down your breathing. Be more responsive and take your time. Number 8, you fail to seek expert advice. This is the last one. A lot of business owners don't even consult and speak to an expert business loan broker and go out of the loan like a lone wolf howling through the night trying to find their way back to base camp and never end up doing so. They end up trying to scramble around looking for food. There isn't anything in the wintertime. They can't even move into the snow, the thick snow that has them trapped down to the bottom. And then they'll take whatever they can get when they get to shelter and they'll make do with it. But it isn't always the best. This will take you down a hamster wheel, crushing you down, only then realize it's too late for a lot of you. Sometimes you can fix this. Other times, hey, like for the instance of a default, for a past default judgment in place, you're done in this industry. How to fix it? Speak with an expert business loan broker like myself who can properly guide you down the right strategic partnership or partnerships and the right roadmap. And then I just put here, and like I said, this looks familiar. If you're right, did you learn something here today? Let me know your thoughts by replying back to this video or the email if you received it there, or perhaps anything that you feel like you can improve on. P.S. I did plenty of questionnaires on Saturday. I haven't reached out to many of you guys via text, letting you know that's been finished. Either today or tomorrow I will. And for those of you who I haven't, please be patient. I will respond back soon. I am flooded. PPS, if you forgot to see how to get a business loan strategically with the right roadmap, you can see here. And I'm going to leave you that video that I have already created down below in the description. Hey, how are you doing? So what I want to do now is leave this open for any kind of questions, comments, concerns. If you're looking for an SBA loan, I have another tab open for that document that I won't get into right now, but perhaps you've seen it already. I have another one for the strategic partnerships and the right roadmap that you guys really want to build on. And then I have the questionnaire form. I'll likely show you guys that one here in a second. Just let me go there now. This form will be located down below in the description. You can get the funding your business needs fast by completing this questionnaire form below to get a personalized and customized email response for your best funding option and options. Plus, get a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist to get you approved for funding much faster. So you'll see everything from your name all the way down to any additional notes. A lot of these fields are required, so take a little bit of time to put them through. Do not skip any of it. If there's nothing that applies to you, just put NA, 0, but make sure you fill it out with at least something about us. It'll look like this more or less. It'll walk you through the process of how it all works. It'll land in my email, where then I will evaluate it, analyze it, and then give you a proper response back via email. Then I'll shoot you a text, most likely right after that, letting you know where to go look for it. And you can get started from then and there. And if there's a need be for a phone call where you need to express more about your expectations or your exact expansion project or project more that you can't thoroughly say here, or perhaps you wanted to hear somebody on voice, etc., then that's the way that you approach it. So let me move this over and just kind of recap. You got to see a little bit about what's happening in the SBA EIDL with the quote unquote C there. The appeals usually out the window. You have the whole process of what's happening in EIDL, how it's been put on hold, what the expectations are there. Just keep looking out for any updates on your emails from your loan officer, anything that they may need from you or request from you before it's even opened up again. If it does again, you had a chance to hear me go through these 8 declined reasons for capital, how to avoid and how to fix them. PPP, a lot of fraudulent activity on top of the EIDL, a lot more cases, about millions upon billions of fraudulent activity. And there's about a 10-year investigation. Maybe it'll be dropped down to less depending on how fast and how smooth they can move through these. But that's what's expected. So not a lot moving with the PPP program. Employee retention tax credit is one I've been speaking about quite periodically, quite frequently, where you can get up to $26,000 per employee. So that's a lot you can get per quarter for 2020 and 2021 usually. And it's a huge program to get in behind of if you have a lot of employees or even if you have a minimal amount. I won't get into all of those little details, but I'll leave you content for it down below, as well as SBA 7A versus SBA EIDL versus unsecured term loans, lines of credit, cash advances, private lending options, and a few more. I made video series on all that. And again, the fastest way to get in touch with me if you haven't yet is to fill out that questionnaire. And I'm going to leave this open for about another minute to see if anybody has any comments, and then I will shut down. I'm putting a circle around people, and this is not an inclusive set. There's more who say one thing, do another. I mean, it's not a surprise anymore. Even if I build a personal connection with people that I'm close to, they still will do this. And then what I want to hear from most of you is just feedback. Don't leave me in the dark. Just please don't do that. Don't start something. Like I reached out to people today on their offers, nothing, no response in return whatsoever. Like I can look through my text, I can look through anything, and I can find out who of you have been on top of things and who of you haven't. Don't think I don't look at these and take them seriously, because I do. Those who are more responsive, those individuals who go out of their way, are usually the ones that I respond back to more effortlessly and are much more smoother. And it's not taking advantage of anything or anyone. It's just you understand better. You understand what's expected of you. You understand the outcome of this circumstance. You know where to move, instead of somebody who comes in and like disappears and just wanders around trying to seek offer after offer with no communication whatsoever with myself, or if I have an internal team that works with us, or it's just me primarily. These are things that you have to get on top of right away. Like today, I'm like this. I need to speak to this underwriter. I spoke to them. I spoke to this lender. What's the status here? I didn't get an update. Can you please send that to me my way? Please CC me if that's the case. Give it to me. And then I need to work with this client. So I'll be back with you in about 15 to 20 minutes. And if I'm not, you know what I'm doing. And I have to go and take care of this email first. I have this client who has a text message, a direct messenger chat. Perhaps it's a phone call. I'm on top of it. But are you? I know you have your own business to run. I have a couple of them as well. But I'm like this. I'm patient, but I'm like that. And if you're willing to work with somebody who's very punctual like myself, like I told people today, get on it. I need to have this information. It should have been sent to me on Friday. Can you please send it over to me? It's better when I have that kind of communication. And then some other people, maybe that's more with my internal team who I'm already delegating a few things to. I need to get that done. Please send it to me. Or maybe it's with the client and I go, are you still interested? And even that drags out. It's like they don't even respond back for like a week or two. Any feedback, just let me know. You don't got to let me know your exact thoughts. Like, Michael, I don't want to hear from you. Or, hey, I'm not like expecting 110% of that. Some of it will help. If you can get more specific, even better. But this is called being punctual. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to go and take a break. I already exercised this morning, so I will be responding back to some emails later, probably tonight. I will go through my calendar, and this is just a few people. This isn't everybody. There's more. But I'm writing down the individuals who are serious right now. I'm making note of it. And I'm on top of it. This person here, boom, doesn't even respond back. This person did respond back to me today. Weren't responsive on Thursday or Friday or Wednesday of last week, which isn't good. Perhaps they needed more time to think about something, and they weren't going to have a response until today. But I'm sure if I didn't reach out, they probably wouldn't have reached out to me. And then I have this individual who doesn't do it this way. This individual over here who appeared for took 30 minutes of my lifetime on a phone call, who's gone completely cold. And I don't expect them to start anything. I'm just saying, can you give me feedback? I checked in with you. Okay, you decide to go your own way. I don't know what you're doing. That's not always going to work. A lot of people end up coming back to me. Honestly, this is like over 90% of the individuals who end up going their own way end up coming back. And that is because either they fell into the wrong situation or they don't want to. And they go, oh, okay, is this legit? This isn't going to work. I'm going to go back over here. And this is what works best. This individual, responsive today, great. We can get them an offer. Smooth. Nothing more wasted energy or time on that. This individual says they wanted to fix their credit. I don't even know what they're doing anymore. This individual here, complainer. This person here, I don't know. I could say a lot about this person, but I'm not going to get into anything specific. This individual here, they didn't get it. This individual here is probably still shopping around, getting the same response multiple times when they could have already gotten what they needed, but we're ignorant. This individual over here, the best, even would probably put the word B next to him for best. Priority number 1, to get a hold of them first. This individual here already knows what to do. So it's not like I'm saying anything negative. It's just a bit of tough love. And if it hurts, it should. It's your wake-up call. And for those of you who are already on top of it, appreciate you all. Thank you all for tuning in. I will continue to work hard for you guys. I have a lot of individuals who I need to get back to after this. And I will likely send them a text message, especially if they're on the West Coast side. If they're not, maybe they're in a specific Eastern Standard Time later on past 5 o'clock. I will not respond after business hours. So you'll likely get an email or a text or so from me tomorrow. And for those of you who have filled out questionnaires and I haven't gone back to you yet, I will do so soon. Please be patient with me. For all other emails, I will. Appointments, sometimes I can't get to them and I forget sometimes to respond back because I'm so busy. Or other times I will let you know, but I do apologize if that's the case. I don't always do that. And yeah, that covers everything. Appreciate you all for tuning in. Do you mean that's the file that you submitted a questionnaire under, Gordon? I'm reading a comment here. Not sure if you're still in here, but I'll give it about another 30 or so seconds for you to respond back. And again, I never pressure anybody, just so you guys know, but when it comes to understanding where your offer is and when you need to take it, that's all up to you. You don't come into something, especially with these cash advances, and expect to get like an offer and then you're like, in 2 months you'll take it, in a month. That's not how these work. And you want to transfer this over to a different bank, or you want to do it, put it into that's not how this works. Other types of financing, they may be saying, hey, in 24 hours you get approved, 1 to 2 weeks we can disperse your funds, personal loans, SBA loans, etc. But unsecured financing, non-collateralized, revenue-based financing, how could we put it on pause for 2 weeks? Well, we cannot. I mean, yeah, you can come back and say in about a week or so, because I have those connections, where otherwise you'd be told you need to tell us an answer by today or tomorrow or in 2 to 3 days or so. Where I go, hey, we can try to put it off for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month. Not in a lot of cases in a month, unless we're dealing with large amounts and we need to get some, the circumstances need to make sense. And when a new month rolls over, then we go, hey, we can actually look at your latest bank statements. If you don't have an offer, or if you have an offer, we look at a month-to-date bank transaction report to make sure nothing's been readjusted or how has it been readjusted, and all of these other things. Appreciate you for confirming that, Gordon. And with that being said, I will leave you all to have a great evening, and I will see you guys later on this week. Please feel free to reach out to me. Look below in the description. If you like this video, thumbs up, please. Share it with others who you feel will get value out of it. It can be a complete stranger, friend, or family. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Click that bell notification icon so you do not miss any future videos I will come out with. And bam. See you guys all soon.